Hello, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. Are your campaigns working together on TV and digital, or are they independent of one another for the most part? Are the people working on your campaigns taking a siloed approach, whether it's a group of internal teams or multiple agencies working externally on multiple projects? Are your technology tools telling a great story of their efforts, or all pointing back to one singular view of the customer? Brienna Pinnow is the co-founder and principal consultant of Blinc Digital Group, and she's a subject matter expert at data and omni-channel marketing and advertising. And on this episode, we'll discuss the advertising ecosystem, how TV and digital campaigns need to more closely align, better ways to build omni-channel campaigns, and even a little as to why siloed teams need to end. So let's tune in to a minnow with a shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Bree, thank you so much for joining me today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would please tell us a little bit about your background and your journey to date.
First of all, I have to say thank you so much for letting me be a part of this, Kenneth.
You're most welcome.
I've seen I've seen so many of my friends and past clients and folks in my network be on this podcast, and frankly, I was a little jealous. And then heavens parted, and you asked me to join. So that was one of my
Well,
three wishes.
it's my retargeting strategy. Yeah,
so I'm super excited. The reason I'm so excited to be on here and why I've seen so many folks in my network be a part of your show is because I am absolutely ingrained in this crazy sort of data-driven ad tech, martech space for almost 15 years now. The cool part is I've had a chance to sit in all sorts of seats across this industry. I mean, I got my start in affiliate marketing. I met my business partner when we were at Yahoo on a team focused on dynamic creative when no one knew what that was. I've worked at pretty big data companies like the Axioms and the Experience of the world. And while I was there, I got to build products and market those products as the head of marketing. And then now, for the last 2 years, I've been on such a cool, exciting journey with my business partner, Lindsay Haryu, for our consulting boutique firm, which is called Blinc Digital Group. And we just are having a blast, essentially solving problems for folks across this space. And that includes both marketers and the folks providing solutions to marketers, whether it's a data company, an ad tech company, someone focused on identity management. We're working with a whole spectrum of people that you would see across the classic Lumascape, if you will. And it's been really a great ride for the past 2 years.
So your company's called Blinc Digital. You've worked, though, also in TV. You know, when we spoke offline, you said that you anticipated a lot of your business would come from digital, and a small percentage would come from TV, but you said that sort of flip-flopped, and you get obviously a lot of attention now because of the knowledge you bring in TV and advanced TV in particular. So why do you think that is? I mean, why is there, you're playing a role in this, as you said, this Lumascape, if you will, of marketing and advertising that we live in today. But why do you think that TV has become such a prevalent standpoint for you guys and your business?
Oh my gosh. So as you said, wow, when we set off on this journey, as you can see in our name, when you hear our full name, Blinc Digital Group, we figured most of our work would be in relation to how to activate data across digital channels. And, my true wish was if I could do even 25% of my time being spent on things related to advanced TV, I would be really happy because I'm just so passionate about it. And I just think it's amazing to be part of an industry that has been around for 7 decades, and it's actually going through a change right before my very eyes. And I could actually be a part of that. Fortunately, my wildest, expectations have been exceeded. And I would say that Blinc actually does probably 80 to 90% of our work at this time is related to advanced TV. And I think that's because two things are really taking place. One, in the real world, consumers are simply changing how they're consuming media. So I think we're on the same page when I say, "Wow, I cringe a little" when I hear people and other folks in this space say TV is dead. That's actually just factually, numbers wise, wrong. Today, people are consuming more content than ever before. On average, it's actually over 40 hours of video content a week. It's pretty much a full time job for some folks. And then when it comes to the devices people are using, wow, over half the country has a connected TV device in their home as well. So, hey, maybe I'm not consuming it in a traditional linear fashion, although, truth be told, that's still happening quite a bit. People are just accessing content when and where and how they'd like. So that's why advanced TV is really excited. Like exciting. Wow, the number one thing marketers care about is grabbing consumers' attention, and wow, we've still really got it when it comes to TV. The other half of why advanced TV is an awesome part. Of our business and why it's great to help other companies solve problems is because they're figuring it out, and there's so much opportunity here for a couple of things. One, education. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations where I've simply had to define for folks the difference between things like addressable TV versus connected TV versus OTT advertising versus data driven linear, some of these really core capabilities. So there's still tons of work to be done just from an education perspective so we can be speaking the same language. Secondly, there is a big opportunity to apply lots of the best practices from other mediums, whether it's, the art and science of building a targeted list that comes from the direct mail world. That can actually still be applied to TV, whether it's the art and science and beauty of how digital marketers have done measurement, that can start to be applied to TV. So it's just so exciting to be able to bring together all of these best practices from other channels, and because of technology and data innovation in the TV space, it's changing before our very eyes, and I get to say I'm a part of it. So it's really awesome opportunity.
So
Yep.
I agree with you. And as you know, I ran a lot of addressable TV and advanced TV ads and worked heavily in that in digital as well. I think so many people, unfortunately, have and it may just be that it's a younger generation who have labeled TV as just one all-encompassing idea, and it's not that way. Maybe if we renamed it, advanced video or advanced stream TV whatchamadoodle, it would make more sense to a lot of people. But no, so many more people are consuming video. They're just consuming it differently. And I think then another one of the problems has been that TV has been one of the ways that we talk most about in our kind of common vernacular as to one of the easiest ways to turn off the ads, because people don't do appointment television like they used to. And, everybody's got a DVR today and knows how to hit that 30-second advance. How do you think that TV ads are performing today compared to where they were, say 5-10 years ago? Because there are still a ton of expensive campaigns. I think the 2019 Super Bowl 30-second spots, those alone were in a different space, but they were over $5 million for a 30-second spot. When you're doing a TV campaign, you're talking about hundreds of thousands to, I've run some campaigns that were in the millions before. People aren't just throwing money completely out the wind, but you'd think it if you just listened only to everybody saying that TV is dead. But how do you see TV campaigns performing today?
I see the campaigns that are working best and succeeding as really having three elements to them. First, they're data driven. Whether or not it's addressable, there's some element of data that goes beyond basic demos like age and gender. whether it's
Thank
first,
you.
second, or third party data, there's data involved. The second element is frequency. I think we can all say, hey, whether it's a Super Bowl ad or I'm binge watching The Bachelor, we've all had an experience where we've been perhaps saturated with the same ad over and over and over, especially in that sort of on demand experience. And that frankly adds up to almost a negative impact. You're better off showing a ad, as my business partner would say, with a puppy on it and then your logo. Show me a PSA before you show me your ad one more time. So there's an element of using identity to manage frequency. And then the third piece is there's some level of measurement involved. So I can simply understand, is there an ROI? Did I saturate people too much? Did I not hit them enough? How should I change my targeting or even the content I'm next to? And there's so many great ways for people to dip their toe into measurement today that can either validate a traditional brand lift study or go beyond it by using mobile location data or even the holy grail, really providing closed loop analytics, tying it from to online sales and offline sales. So if you've got those three pieces of your TV recipe, even if it doesn't perform well, you're going to walk away with a lot of learnings that you can apply when you rinse and repeat and do it again in the future, and hopefully translate it across other channels and video venues.
So when you're providing consulting, do you still see agencies that you work with? I don't have to name them by name. I don't want you to stir up anything, but do you still see many of them talk at all about reach?
So a lot of them still talk about
That's so
reach
sad.
and yep, and caring about scale and still relying still a bit more as a crutch on their traditional metrics, right? I feel like a lot of agencies are standing on the edge of this diving board, and sometimes that that pool below looks a little cold. It's a little unknown, and it's really safe to rest on metrics and ways of buying and measuring it from the days of yesteryear. But
Sure.
my advice to them is always that, hey, the pool below actually isn't ice cold. It's pretty warm. There's a lot of folks down here that are here to help catch you when you jump in. And if you have the right partners, you can definitely transform your organization or your agency into one that's doing this stuff intelligently,
Sure.
and you're not just throwing spaghetti at the
Well,
wall.
then how about the brands that you're working with, or the CMOs? I mean, are they, at least in your mind, sort of becoming more intelligent about the space?
You know what? I actually had a scenario where I had the CEO and the CMO of a fairly good sized insurance company engage us and say, I just personally want to know everything about advanced TV. Just give me the landscape, educate me on the vernacular, help me understand who the players are from a tech perspective, from a data perspective. Actually, who are some of the leading agencies who talk the talk and walk the walk in this advanced TV world? Why did they want to know that? They thought their current agency wasn't bringing their A game, and so that exercise was really a great testament to the fact that I think brands are leading the way. A lot of times, they're pretty excited about this, and if you're an agency who is kind of digging your heels in and sticking to what your advertisers may start to challenge you and even seek a different, more progressive partner. So it's time to lean in and embrace this advanced TV world.
So a big thing for me is taking an omni-channel view, and especially if you look at where we both existed with big data partners in the past that worked directly with the publishers and managed a lot of that back end data. How are you seeing the education level for companies and agencies, advertisers and agencies, looking at omni-channeling these campaigns? I mean, obviously, you and I have both seen higher return on investment that people get when they combine their TV campaigns, advanced TV campaigns, with other forms of digital, email, direct mail. When you take some of these top converters like email and direct mail and take those same lists and bump those up against subscriber files for Lord, we did it with Yahoo, we did it with DirecTV, Dish, Comcast, you name it, all these publishers, and those provided remarkably higher lifts. Are you seeing that advance in your conversations today? Does that kind of conversation seem completely foreign, at least still, to a lot of those parties that you deal with?
So, in general, like you said, I mean, I've been preaching this for quite some time now. That it's just been proven time and time again. When you take this omni-channel approach, it's kind of like 1 + 1 = 3. It's really what I've been saying for the past 5 years. It's kind of the surround sound effect when you think about taking that same consistent audience based in data and using it for email plus advanced TV, digital plus mobile. And where I see things coming really interesting for advertisers is that they're getting on board with it. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
less about education. What I see at this time slowing people down from that is really two things. So, one, what stops them is if they don't have identity at the center of their business, if
Yeah.
they've got data sitting different places, that's going to be a little hurdle there. The second thing standing in the way, or that I see as a hurdle for a lot of advertisers who want to live out this omni-channel dream, is that they've got siloed teams. So there's tons of tug and war games going on internally. So my recommendation is to any CMO who says, hey, I want to list on my resume that I've transformed my organization to think omni-channel, you got to do two things. Put customers at the center, have your data organized, and secondly, get rid of this mentality centered around teams that are focused on channels and have teams that are focused on certain customer experiences or customer groups. And wow, those people are going to be really fluent in what those consumers are looking for and how to give them an experience that is omni-channel.
I could not agree more, but do you see that siloing is starting to converge into a more omni-channel approach, or do you see? I see a continuation of siloing with a lot of different clients that I've done business with over the years, and that has not slowed down, unfortunately, because everybody's sort of becoming, uber focused on becoming a channel expert as opposed to a customer expert.
I totally agree at this time. It's like, wow, I've been preaching this for so long. You have too, right? In terms of, hey, break down the silos, break down the team silos. No one seems to actually be living that out for the most part yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the same thing happening from a tech perspective. All these siloed teams are in place, and all the tools that these startups are creating are point solutions for the email person, point solution for the social media guy, point solution for the mobile marketing person on the team. So really, the overall industry is kind of like still feeding into that mentality of siloed teams.
Well, so let's say that a client does have a good list together,
Mm-hmm.
to your point, with a centric ID attached to that customer. How do they start building out a campaign for omni-channel purposes with TV and with digital that helps them deliver, a stellar campaign?
So, of course, I think I hope my answer doesn't come across as biased, but having worked at companies like an Axiom, like an Experian, having worked with other partners in this sort of space where they have really matching capabilities that are privacy compliant and they've got a network of partners that go across all these channels, that's what I'd call a great activation point or sort of a launch site for all of these campaigns. Now, the awesome part is those companies aren't media biased. They're media agnostic. So when you work with a sort of neutral matching provider that's got a robust network of partners, you're going to be able to have a single place where you can see the reach of particular audiences across channels all from one spot. So I'm a huge advocate for, of course, having elements in your tech stack like a DSP or a DMP, those broader solutions that are really robust, but what's going to fuel those vehicles. And the fuel needs to come from an identity provider who can help you see across all of these channels before you go actually start putting money out there for your media buy.
So then what sort of expectation level should at least from what you've seen, agency and an advertiser see from approaching it this way?
I think one of the biggest myths that I would love to bust for people when they're taking this omni-channel approach is that uh, it, although we live in this very digital, fast-paced, technology-driven world, there's going to be a lot of partners involved oftentimes. So it's not just you click, click, click. Wow, now my TV campaign is, playing next to This Is Us. Uh, there's going to be partners involved. You're going to have a data partner, perhaps a matching partner. You're going to have the media partner, you as a brand, plus your agency, right? There's going to be 4, 5, 6 partners involved. But if you are spending the money and you care about understanding how it works, all of that juice is going to be worth the squeeze that you get out at the end of that after of coordinating some parties. And hey, as you go along, it's all going to come together much more quickly.
The type of campaign is going to matter then. What kind of advice do you give on whether or not somebody goes, through a typical addressable campaign on, that falls into those addressable guidelines that runs on, your direct TVs of the world, or, VOD, or something running on Comcast, or, some sort of data driven linear? Where do you sort of start giving advice on what type of campaign somebody should consider? Because I think a lot of people obviously used to think of it just as linear and addressable, but now there are so many more options on the menu.
So this is one of the easiest answers I get to give in terms of advice on
Well, you're welcome.
media, which is let the data tell the story. So if you're taking that audience-based approach, you're simply going to see really quickly where these people are spending their time. So many marketers get caught up in the razzle dazzle of the actual media. So I've worked with a hearing aid brand that said, wow, let's get on Instagram. We have to be on Instagram. It's so cool. Well, yeah, you might think that. Is that actually where your target audience is at? Yeah, just match the data. You're going to see that that's not really where they're spending their time. So it's just that basic, actually, is to find your perfect ideal audience, match that up against these different providers, different mediums, and see where your audience is at.
Two questions in. So we think of everybody sort of getting their toe in with digital now. Obviously, that spend has increased a lot. It doesn't take a lot to get on, your Google Ads campaign or put something out there on some programmatic display network. That's obviously not that hard to do, and it's fairly quick to get up and running, and you can do it for not a huge amount of money, but obviously TV takes a little bit heavier investment. What type of companies are you seeing either get into the space now that weren't before, or what kind of companies do you still see that are still spending a lot in TV, that need to? I mean, obviously we've seen some pullback, even, another example of the Super Bowl ads. You did not see the same presence that you did in previous years with a lot of those companies, unless they were sort of always on brands. But can I answer those two questions for me of who you see getting into the space in advertising, and who do you see sort of sustaining their place?
I see, especially when we think about advanced TV as a whole, connected TV specifically,
Right.
providing opportunities for advertisers that were never in the TV advertising game before. Why is that happening? Well, CTV provides the best of what TV's always brought, which is sight, sound, and motion, that sort of lean back experience. Uh, and on top of it, not only do you get that, but there's way lower barrier to entry. Instead of having to whip out your checkbook and say, wow, this is going to cost me $1 million to play during This Is Us, I can actually do a campaign for 10K. And in the scheme of things, that's a way lower barrier to entry. So you're seeing not only enterprise brands, think big auto companies, like they've always been the biggest TV advertisers. Sure, they're still playing in this advanced TV space, but it's opening the door to these smaller D2C companies. You've seen other folks talk about this a lot recently, even in the last couple of months, that D2C brands are really embracing connected TV because they've kind of went to the well and milked what's possible on Instagram and milked what's possible on Facebook and influencers. And they're finding that CTV is a new way to have a really great direct to consumer sort of message, but at a bit of a broader scale and a different, simply overall experience. So that's the really cool part about opening the door to smaller brands. So in terms of who's still staying in the TV game, of course you see those big sort of staple brands that have always been in TV, including automotive advertisers. So for example, auto, they are the one vertical that spends the most on TV as a biggest slice of their budget. And they were the first to embrace addressable TV
Mm-hmm.
7, 8 years ago. And why was that? It wasn't even about the targeting. It was about the fact that they could actually measure, wow, when I invested this big chunk of money, did I get people onto my lot and buying more vehicles? So they love the measurement aspect. And that continues to hold true as additional capabilities roll out to target and measure people now across OTT and connected TV. And wow, I've just seen an uptick in terms of other advertisers having that same light bulb light up for them now. This is a really great avenue for me to measure results through advanced TV.
Do you see anybody jumping out of the space?
I think you see some brands really taking an opportunity to step back and just simply look at their audience and say, hey, is this where they're spending most of their time? And so not completely removing themselves, nothing rivals TV when it comes to reach and experience and a brand safe environment as well for the advertiser. However, you might see some brands just saying, hey, I'm going to divide my budgetary pie a little differently to reach this specific group of people. I want to make sure I catch them on social media. I want to make sure I am investing the right money on mobile and things like that.
Well, then, Bree, whip out your crystal ball and kind of give us an idea of where you think is next and where the market is going.
I think one of the most exciting things you'll see happen in the next even 12 to 24 months for TV is really related to measurement. Anyone knows Blinc, we are measurement geeks and we've built
Right.
measurement products. We do that for a lot of our clients today. And it's so exciting to see not only more advertisers hop on board with measurement, but more data becoming available and making different types of measurement possible, whether it's taking geolocation data to say, yep, this person actually moved from the couch to the counter, or using actual online or offline sales data to say, here was the true ROI for my ad spend, or even using data to say, wow, people, when they saw my competitors' ads X amount of times, it detracted from the success of my campaign. It's just so amazing to see this sort of wave of momentum when it comes to data proliferation that's now available for measurement. And I can't wait to see more advertisers and programmers even parading around new solutions that go beyond just saying, hey, did I hit my reach and frequency goals from a very traditional sense. So measurement is going to be bigger and better than ever. I know everyone always says it's the year of measurement, but I'll just call it's the decade of measurement. It's going to continue an uphill climb that's really exciting to be part of.
Awesome. All right. Well, Bree, it is now that special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Absolutely.
All right. First question, TV or digital?
TV.
All right. Lincoln, Nebraska, where you are, or Abraham Lincoln?
Lincoln, Nebraska. Go Huskers.
Wow. Won the war and freed the slaves. Yeah, you're going with the Cornhuskers. Okay. All right, number 3, Blinc Digital or Blink 182.
Blink Digital, of course.
I know, that was too easy. All right, number 4, Swiss or Brie.
Brie, absolutely.
All right, and the most important question you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread.
Biscuits, extra gravy. Thanks.
Thank you. And just for shiggles, what is your favorite kind of shark, and why?
One named Kenneth.
Thank you.
Because he's got a podcast that's pretty amazing, and I got to be a part of it.
Awesome.
So.
Well, Bree, where can people find out more about you, find out more about your company, do some research on TV, and more?
Absolutely. Head to blinkdigitalgroup.com. I'm on Twitter at Brienna P. And you can just hit me up on LinkedIn. The great thing is, if you head to our website, we've got a free 5-part video series defining advanced TV. So if you're ready to dig in, it's kind of cool and bite size, and really something you can feel well versed in less than a half hour. So there you go.
Awesome. Bree, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
So there was my conversation with Brienna Pinnow, the co-founder and principal consultant of Blinc Digital Group, and she's a subject matter expert at data and omni-channel marketing and advertising. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, we know too well that TV is completely changed by the way people are consuming media. However, understand that TV advertising is not dead. It's just being delivered in a different way and across many more devices. There is so much opportunity in education and how we define addressable, advanced, OTT, connected, VOD, data-driven linear, and other forms of TV advertising. We've got to look at actual best practices, though, from other channels and the opportunities in measurement and attribution so that we can optimize those ads and look at it as a lead gen channel as well and not just a branding piece. The cool thing is that with data innovation in the TV space, we get to see all this happening right in front of our eyes. What I will stress, though, is that campaigns should be data-driven, and I emphasize data-driven in all caps. Sadly, there are still a lot of hurdles, both in knowledge and especially in execution, with agencies, whether they live in digital, TV, or some other space. But for the most part, they don't know how to work together. And you could ask many of my publisher friends, it's still an issue. Second, I love the point on looking at this from an omni-channel point of view. And I quote, put customers at the center, have your data organized. And secondly, get rid of this mentality centered around teams that are focused on channels and have teams that are focused on certain customer experiences or customer groups. And wow, those people are going to be really fluent in what those customers are looking for and how to give them an experience that is omni-channel. I agree. Your customers don't live in silos, so why should you ever approach them or talk to them that way? Third, we see so often the silos where those teams and agencies are working somewhat independently from another. You see the same thing, though, as well from a tech perspective, with all of the tools that feed into that mentality. Think of all the specialized tools and dashboards and data sets that each group has to tell a story to fit one puzzle. If each department and each agency and each set of data and each dashboard and each group had a piece of that puzzle, then somewhere those pieces have to come together onto one board, if you will, to form one view of the customer. Why would you ever be surprised then that some pieces get lost or don't fit or mixed in with other pieces? And then the confused buyer says no. Thank you for all the emails and messages and reviews and likes and shares. Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. It has been my honor to spend this time with you in order to discuss another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. So let the data tell the story, keep sharking, and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.